All right, so Adam, you're preparing for your first trials event. This is an exciting time, and I wanted to take a minute just to talk to you and talk to the audience about what to expect. I mean, you're getting ready for an event, but you don't want to go in there blind. So I wrote up a bunch of ideas, and I figured we could just have a conversation around these.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So I think we'll start over here with bike prep because you can actually be preparing your bike a little bit ahead of time. So I don't like to do anything major for about a week before. And the only reason is because I'm not that good of a mechanic.
Me either.
And if I'm doing like a rear tire change and I don't have the right tools, which on a trials bike you need a bead sealer.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you're going to be struggling right up to the end. And maybe the last night before you're thinking, oh, I'll just change out this tire real quick. And then you're not able to get it. You're anxious. You're calling a friend. And it's just all that stress. So I don't like to do anything major a week before. That's just a general. You want to make sure you got your gas pre-mix. You don't want to roll up to the event without any pre-mix, especially on a two-stroke.
Oh, yeah.
I like to do a bolt check either a day before, even the morning of if I've got time. So I'm just going around the bike, making sure that every single bolt is tight. Sometimes they do get loose, and I always. So if you don't have a number plate on a lot of the events, you can just put some duct tape over it and write down the letters of the gates that you're riding: novice, beginner, intermediate. So just bringing some duct tape can help.
Gotcha. So like usually on a number plate for trials, you would write down like your name and what line you're riding as opposed to like a rider's number or anything like that?
Yeah, we don't have any numbers, and usually just the line is sufficient. So
Okay.
you can put your name in a lot of custom number plates, but you don't need.
Okay.
They have all that information where you're riding from, but that's not needed.
Gotcha.
When you get into a section, they just want to know what line are you riding. That way the checker can identify, okay, he's riding the intermediate line. Let's make sure he goes through those gates. And then lastly, I just make sure that you're test riding your bike. Make sure you got all the kinks worked out if you do any major work. So the week leading up to it, you're getting some rides in that are going to be in conditions similar to what you're going to experience in the event.
Makes perfect. Yeah. So I've done a little bit of competing, like just other sports and other types of motorcycling in the past, but I know trials can be kind of different. What are the rules?
Yeah, so at an event, the rules are going to vary depending upon what group you're riding with. The Trials Inc. group that we're a part of, they have gates or splits, and you can only go through your gate forwards. You can't ride through anyone else's gate, forward or backward. So in a sense, you kind of got roadblocks. If you go through your gate and then you're thinking about coming back this way, if you ride through their gate, you're going to get a 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there are specific rules depending upon what group you're riding with. Scoring is somewhat complex, but I'll try and break it down. If you put your foot down at any time in a section, you're going to get a point.
Okay.
Once your foot's down, it can stay down. You can do a pivot turn, anything. If you put another foot down or you move that foot, you're going to get a second point. Then if you put another foot, not that you have 3 feet, but if you put down your foot a different time, it's worth 3 points. Once you've got 3 points, you can dab as much as you want.
Okay.
So you can actually almost walk the bike over an obstacle. 3 points is the max you're going to get there.
Oh,
You can
wow.
get a 5 if you crash, both feet come to the same side, you miss a gate, you go out of bounds, or you stall your engine.
Okay.
Those are all the main ways that you can get a 5. You want the lowest score possible, so like in golf, we're trying to get a minimal amount of points. If you clean the section, meaning you get 0, that's the ultimate.
Okay. Makes sense, yeah.
So I'll include a video link because there's a lot more to scoring, but you also can't ride over your own tire line. So you can't like come back around and then ride something again because you will cross your own tire path.
Okay. So you kind of have to create your own path that doesn't cross any of your previous paths.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and there's going to be gates, and you can go through those gates in any order.
Oh, okay.
So if, let's say you got 3 gates as an intermediate rider, you can go through them in any order. And a lot of people before you might be going in one way, but you might see an alternate line, which is something we're going to talk about in section strategy. So, all right, we'll get to section strategy in a minute. I want to talk through some tips. So when you first get to an event, let them know, hey, this is my first time. Is there anyone who can help me?
Yeah.
Because trials, the community is really helpful. They want you to have a good experience. So they'll probably say, oh yeah, you're signing up right here. Hey Bill, come get this guy and help show him around. Da, da, da. They'll find somewhere for you, hopefully, to ride with. Say you have a good experience because it's all new and it is different. So definitely ask for help. I would encourage you to try and find some other people that are riding the same line. So if you're riding intermediate, you want to find other people that are riding intermediate and hopefully get with them and just keep riding with them and say, hey, do you mind if I tag along with you? And when they go to take a break after the first loop, go take a break with them.
Yeah.
Just hang out as much as you can, glean from all their knowledge, ask them a ton of questions, but they're going to be riding the same line, so they're all going to be studying the same section and how to get through it. So it's kind of like playing chess with other people as opposed to you're playing this game and they're playing that game.
Yeah. Team strategy in more minds.
Yeah, and people are helpful. Like, even though you're competing against them, they're still going to be trying to help you be successful through that section. Because it's kind of, although it's competitive, it's almost like you against the terrain.
Yeah, exactly.
More than you against that rider.
Yeah, I do like that aspect of it. Because obviously you want to be competitive and you want to do as well as you can. But it's nice to know that everyone's going to be able to help each other out and not really be stingy about withholding information.
Right.
So,
Yeah, especially when you're new.
Yeah.
Pros, they might be a little different. They're going to
Yeah.
play head games and stuff.
Exactly.
We're not going to do that. So next thing I want to say is when you're getting ready, when you're in line to get into a section, be ready. Have your engine running, potentially 1 or 2 riders ahead of you. So the engine's running, it's warm. You're not trying to kick your bike last minute when they're like, rider, get in. And you're like, oh my gosh. So be ready. And then if you do get a fire or the engine stalls or something happens, get out of the section. Get out of the way. You can go any way out of it just so that the next rider can come in because there's usually a line of people waiting.
Gotcha.
I would say get there, even 2 hours ahead. I like to be there plenty early. When I arrive, I like to unload the bike, make sure it's all set, get my gear on, and then I quickly go for a test ride. And I want to see the course. So ideally, I'm going to ride the whole loop if I have time, and I'm going to walk those sections ahead of time to see, okay, how hard is it? Are there a ton of logs? Are they going to be slippery? Is it wet out today? Is this got a lot of hills? Just to get a feel for what kind of environment. And I'm not going to walk the whole section, figure everything out. I'm just going to walk it long enough to know, okay, that's too hard for me. I'm not riding the advanced line today. I'm going to go to sportsman. So just identifying what line I want to ride. Then I'm going to sign up, get my sticker, pay my money, and then I'll probably try and get some food or a drink or maybe check my bike again, make sure I'm topped off on gas, check my tire pressure. Those are all things that are going to help. So I'd say at least 2 hours ahead. You can make it 1 hour ahead. My very first event, we got there 5 minutes before it started.
Oh, wow. That is not enough time.
It was a rush, and yeah, it contributed toward the anxiety. Definitely talk to the checkers. So when you pull up, there's usually about, let's say 10 sections, and you're going to ride the loop 3 times.
Okay.
So each time you get to a section, talk to the checkers. Hey, how's it going today? Hey, I'm riding intermediate. Any suggestions? How many gates do I have? And they'll say, oh, you got one here, and one here.
Okay.
Now you don't have to spend as much time figuring out where to go because they've already told you. They might not tell you what order to ride, but you could even say, how's everyone else riding this who's intermediate? And sometimes they'll give you little tips. Right.
Thanks for help.
That's right. That's right. Especially if you say, hey, it's my first time. They're going to try to be as helpful as possible.
Yeah.
But they can't tell you how to ride it. Expectations. I like to set goals for myself. Sometimes we come into an event thinking, man, I've really been riding good. I'm gonna like win. I'm gonna get a medal.
Yeah.
Man, when you put those expectations on yourself, it just ruins some of the fun that you might have. So I would go into an event as your first time, just trying to have fun, just trying to learn a lot, make some friends, set low goals that are just open about kind of how you want to feel at the end of the day, and you don't want to get hurt, things like that.
Exactly, yeah. I'd say, my goals for probably the first trials event, I've thought about this over the last couple of days, are just, 1, definitely have fun doing it. 2, talk to as many people as I can because I want this to be a social thing.
Yeah.
And 3, just like you said, leave healthy. Don't get hurt. So
Don't go overboard.
I'll be very happy if I walk away with those 3 things.
You'll get humbled in trials no matter what at some point. So you might as well not go all out over some big obstacle.
Exactly.
You just don't need to.
You're not trying to impress anybody. You're just there to have a good time.
That's right. That's right. I would suggest practicing for an event. So, for instance, tonight we're going to go out for a ride. We got an event in 2 days, and we're going to practice the type of riding that you're going to be experiencing there. So we'll set up some practice gates. So I would say practice for the event that you're going to ride. If you know you're going to a place that's got a lot of rocks, try and practice in rocks. If you know it might be rainy because it's forecast has got rain, go out and practice in the mud. Try to recreate that environment if you know what you're getting into.
Cool.
Air pressure. So a lot of people don't realize how significant that is. I check my air pressure before I go out. And then I'm riding the loop or whatever, I'm going to check again before the event starts. It may have gone up a ½ pound, and especially as the day gets warmer and warmer, it's going to continue to go up potentially. The bike tires are running, the tires get hotter. So I'm probably going to wind up checking it 3 times and letting out air each time because I'm running usually about 4 pounds in the rear, 4 1/4, and usually about 6.5 in the front. And those numbers will vary as the day goes on, and that is your traction. So definitely pay attention to your tire pressure.
Gotcha.
All right, one more before we get to the last one. 2 fingers on the loop. I've seen a lot of people cramp up. So they're riding 1 finger on the clutch, 1 on the brake. They're riding this long loop, and this finger just cramps up.
Yeah.
I did make a whole video about keeping that friction zone nice and close, but I would even recommend putting 2 fingers on the clutch and brake as you're riding the loop because you don't have to be that skilled and that accurate. That way you're using more muscles on your 2 fingers on your lever so that when you get to the section, you can just go back to 1 finger.
Makes perfect sense.
All right, ultimately have fun. That's a big tip. Just make it a good experience. All right, so next let's hit up what I think you should bring. So you're going to be out there. It's potentially going to be hot. It could be wet. You just don't know what the elements are going to bring. So plenty of water, Gatorade, electrolytes, whatever kind of fluid you want, snacks. I usually make some peanut butter and jelly, sandwiches before I go. A lot of times the events that we ride start at noon and they'll be over by 5 p.m. So I'm probably going to get there in the morning. I'm going to want to eat at some point, then maybe in between a couple loops, eat again. So whatever you know, you can feed yourself to fuel for a long day.
Makes sense.
I would bring tools in case you do have to do some sort of job or maintenance on the bike, a chair, that way you can sit in between. Make sure you've got an extra set of clothes. You're probably going to get stinky, sweaty. You want something to ride home in that's good. Probably an air pump, rain gear in case the weather takes a turn for the worse, a backpack, ideally a bladder or something that you can hold water in. I like to ride with a small backpack. I know other people have like a fanny pack that's actually in style in trials.
Oh yeah, keep the weight off your back, all on your hips.
Exactly. Extra parts if you've got them. So I've got an extra brake lever, an extra shifter, extra clutch lever. That's it. Thank you. I got a bunch of extra parts, so I'm going to bring them all. Definitely want to make sure you have your gas, any riding gear, extra gloves. Sometimes your gloves get wet or sweaty. You fall down in a mud or something like that. Yeah.
I always bring 2 gloves every time I go ride, and especially hot summers in Ohio or all the surrounding areas where I want to do trials events. You know it's going to be hot and my hands get sweaty, so I always bring 2 pairs of gloves.
Yeah, good call. All right, last one, section strategy. This is big, and I haven't seen too many videos on it, so I'm going to take a moment to talk through this. When you get to your section, and first of all, you don't have to ride the first section first. Most events around here, they say start on any section or start in sections 1 through 4.
Oh, okay.
And that way, when 50 riders go out or 100 riders go out, there's not a huge line right at section 1. And I've also experienced that section 1 is usually where they want spectators to go. It's the closest, and sometimes it's the hardest. So it's got bigger logs, more challenging things for the spectators to go, ooh, ah.
Yeah.
I don't like starting in section 1. I like to bypass it, go to section 2, 3, 4, whatever I can get away with. Then after I do, let's say 4 through 10, I've got to come back and hit section 1, 2, 3 before I turn my card in for my first loop.
Gotcha.
Then every time after that, I'm going to start at section 1 again. But that's just a little tip. So when you get to that first section, walk and find your gates. Ask, where are my gates? I'm riding intermediate. Where are the splits? Find them fairly quickly. Don't figure out, okay, I'm going to go through this one first. I'm going to do this technique. No, just find the gates.
Yeah.
Just figure them out. Then you might even try and name the section in your brain. So if there's a creek, okay, this is the creek section.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's the big rock section. It just helps internalize so that the next time I come around to that section, I know, okay, this was the rock section. Sometimes naming it, whether the checker's name, this is one Alan was at. Something just kind of helps solidify that memory because trials is very analytical, and the better your memory is in a section, the better you're going to be riding through it.
Yeah.
So after I find my gates, let's say there's 3 of them, I want to look at what are the alternate lines. So instead of going through gate 1, then 2, then 3, I might actually do better to climb the hill first and then come back and hit 2, then 3, then 1. You got to go through them in a certain direction, but it doesn't mean you have to go through them in that order that everyone else is doing it. A lot of times finding an alternate line will be huge to help you set up for success. I would say watching other riders, especially if they're in your class, can be very helpful. So you know which way they're doing it, what technique, ask them what gear are you in. But if there's other riders that are taking different gates, don't get confused. Yeah. You're like, well, I saw him go over the rock, so I figured that's where I was supposed to go too. Then I'm going to walk this section a bunch of times. I'm going to walk it forwards. I'm going to walk it backwards. The reason why I walk it backwards, Ryan Young said, so it makes a lot of sense. You don't know where you need to be set up for the next obstacle unless you kind of come backwards and think, okay, on this rock, I need to be perpendicular to it. So that means my bike has to be this way in this turn before. So that means I want to be wide. So sometimes walking it backwards will help you mentally think how you're going to be set up and where you want the bike to be to get over that next challenging obstacle. So I'm going to keep walking the section until I'm comfortable. You know, forward, backwards. I'm going to figure out the line that I want to take. I'm going to figure out what approach I want to use in obstacles, so what technique I might use. Sometimes in my mind, I'll even say, okay, on this log, I'm going to double blip, so I'm going to go blip, blip. And then if there's like a hill, I might say brap. So now in my head, I'm building up. Okay, I'm going to come to the left, blip, blip. Then I'm going to make a right-hand turn, brap. So in my brain, I'm kind of building a memory or a map of the course.
Yeah.
Our events are going to have very small letters. It'll say novice this way, intermediate this way, really small. They're hard to read as you're riding.
Oh, wow.
So if you're going to rely on, okay, where was my next section again?
It's
going to be really tough unless you have a minder, someone who can point it out to, which I might be able to do for you, in the first couple sections as we ride together. But you want to build kind of this map in your brain. So I'm going to say bullet point or memorize that section. So if you got 3 gates, I usually will say something like, all right, I'm going to hug the ribbon. So I'm going to say left to the ribbon, all the way to ribbon. Then I'm going to go right over the log, and I'm going to go, blap, brap. So I'm going left to ribbon, right, brap, brap. Then up the hill, brap, and then hard left coming back down.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that to myself a bunch of times, trying to just bullet point how I'm getting through. until I've really cemented it. Then I'm going to come all the way back to the start gate. I'm going to look at the section, and I'm going to say it one more time. Because you might be waiting in line a few people, and by the time you get it back up to the front of the line, you might not want to go, oh shoot, where am I supposed to go again?
Yeah.
So hopefully you're getting behind someone else who's riding the same direction you are. But that ability to memorize it and to name it will help you on your next loop. So the next time you come around and you ride that same section, let's say it's section 5, if you say, oh yeah, it's the creek section.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember this one. Hug the ribbon left, brap brap over the log, then all the way up the hill, and then you might not have to walk it as many times. It is good advice to walk the section every time before you ride it, because conditions do change. Other riders hit a rock, it slides in the way. How you got up last time, you might not be able to see it from the start. It's going to shift.
Okay.
So it does help to walk this section every time. But if you're riding, let's say 4 loops of 8, man, 4 loops and walking each section, it's going to wear you out.
Yeah.
And every time you might not want to get in the back of the line, because once you walk a section, you got to take your place in the back of the line. You can't like park your bike up front, walk it, and be like, oh no, I was here.
Yeah.
So you got to get in the back of the line. So a lot of times we don't walk it every single time. Maybe the first loop or 2 loops, I'll walk a section. Or maybe if there's one that's really challenging that I took a 5 on, and I want to walk it again and be like, what other way could I do this? Is there a different line I can take or a different gear? So I'll walk the sections again that I feel I need to. The other thing is when you get done with this section, if you can make a mental note, they're going to check your car, they're going to punch, you got a point or 2 points, whatever. Make a mental note. What do I need to do to fix it?
Yeah.
So on the creek section, I needed to be in 2nd gear. So you say creek, 2nd gear. Hopefully you can store that in your brain somewhere. I don't take a journal, notes or anything, but then when I get back to the creek, I'll be like, what do I need to remember? Oh yeah, 2nd gear this time. So ideally, if you can learn from it, make a mental note so by the time you get back around, hopefully you have a better result.
Makes sense.
So that's my section strategy. I think you're going to have a great time. I'm really excited for you to ride your first ride. We're going to try and film a lot of it, and we got a few other riders that are coming with us. I know it's Eric's first time.
Yeah.
I think it's Chuck's first time.
Yeah,
He's had a trials bike before, but
Yeah.
competing. So that's 3 new riders. Mike's ridden before, and so have I. So we should have a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too, man.